Dr. Narayan Sharma, Assistant Professor of S.B.Deorah College, Department of Environmental Science and Environmental Biology and Wildlife Sciences. Our resource person in today's program, Vice Principal Dr. Nobonita Bhuya, the organizers, the science faculties of the college, and other faculties present here, and also my dear students. As the purpose has already been explained by Pulok, why we celebrate this day as the National Science Day. There is a special significance of discovery of Raman effect. We all know this day has been celebrated since 1986 as the National Science Day. And this year's theme has a very special significance. How to use science and technology for our future, a sustainable future. That means science and technology, rapid use of science and technology should not lead to a world where the future is not sustainable. When our future generations will suffer, that should not be the aim of use of science and technology. How best we can use the science and technology for a sustainable future so that our next generation, the future generations, will live much more happily, much more satisfying life than we are. That is the main purpose of the theme of this year, and I am looking forward to listen Mr. Sharma. He is the expert on this field. I hope this lecture will benefit all of us, understanding the main theme and also the significance of the day. And without wasting much time, and I don't have much to speak about also, I welcome Dr. Sharma to our college. Our science, in fact, the whole science team is quite new. In 2018 we have started, and in 2019 we are fortunate that government has sanctioned the post of the teachers, and now we have almost full-fledged science faculties in all the departments, and we will try our best to make this science stream one of the best in the city or in the state. So that is why our endeavor is to celebrate these days or other science, environmental day, environment day, and other celebrate so that related to science, so that mathematics day, everything related to science we have been celebrating, so that we want to popularize our stream. We want to make more visible among the students, among the students who are to pursue BSc in their future. So once again I welcome Dr. Sharma, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. As sir rightly mentioned, the motive behind this Science Day is to popularize science, to spread the message of the importance of science. We should remember that to be a scientist, you don't have to study science. You don't necessarily to be a student of science. It's an attitude itself. Anyone doing whatever he is doing or she is doing can be a scientist in their thought process, in their work methodology. So yeah, that's the message we are spreading via this National Science Day celebration. Now, as we are anticipating a very good talk from our guest, Narayan Sharma sir. So before we move on to his talk, may I now request our colleague, Dr. Janto Kumar Nath from Department of Chemistry, to introduce the speaker with the gathering.
Thank you, Pulok. A very good morning to respected Principal Sir, Vice Principal Madam, our invited resource person, Dr. Narayan Sharma Sir, esteemed colleagues and dear students. So we are happy that our research person is already among us. And now I would like to give a brief introduction of the research person. As I saw, his biodata is consisting of 25 pages, so it will be not possible to say all the things. So Dr. Narayan Sharma sir was born in the year 1977 in Guwahati. He obtained his BSc degree from zoology from S.B.Deorah College and master degree in zoology in specialization animal ecology and wildlife biology in 2023. He pursued his PhD degree from National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, and Manipal University, Manipal, India. Then he joined in Cotton University in the Department of Environmental Biology and Wildlife Sciences in 2015. He got several awards and recognition, research fellowships and grants. His area of interest is community ecology, ecology pedagogy, and urban ecology. He published his research work in various journals of international repute. He delivered several invited talks, presentations in national as well as in international platform. He has a lot of experience in various academic and administrative work. He is currently guiding 4 research scholars. I must say that he may feel proud that one of his students, Ms. S.B.Deorah, is working as a assistant professor in our college. So I hope students will get encouraged and find lucidity in his speech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jay. Now may I request
Principal Sir, respected Vice Principal Ma'am, faculty of S.B.Deorah College, and thank you, Jayanta, for that generous introduction. And thank you, all of you, for inviting me to deliver this talk here. So in fact, this is my first talk post my heart operation. I was a little bit skeptical whether to accept this or not. So please bear with me. And when Pooja said that, sir, you need to give a talk, so I couldn't refuse, because this is also an opportunity to visit this college, because I've never been to S.B.Deorah, and how can I miss that opportunity not to come to this college? And Pooja said you need to give a talk based on the theme of integrated approach of science and technology for sustainable future. And since I mostly follow monkeys and birds and not very closely related to sustainable development subject, but nevertheless I thought, okay, this is another opportunity to also learn something very new, which is called nature-based solutions answer to the global societal problems. So I would just like to start with the fact that whatever I'm going to talk now is not the substitute for the technology. So there are a lot of technological intervention which actually complement the things that I'm going to say today. Next slide. So if I ask you what are the biggest societal challenges that we face, I particularly wanted to answer from the students. What are the societal challenges? What are the biggest societal challenges that you think?
Sir, poverty.
You say poverty, yes? অকমান আগতে পোষ্টাৰ যিবিলাক দেখাই আছিলা, you were saying something about pollution. Very good. And few days back, right, we were feeling extreme cold weather, right? And in the month of October, we are feeling like the temperature was 38 degrees Celsius, right? So what is that?
Climate change.
Climate change, right? So all of you agree that climate change is real, right? So I assume that climate change is real. And there is one problem that is completely, say, devastated us in last 2 years. What was that?
Pandemic.
Pandemic, and mostly the disease, right?
COVID.
And very good. And any other thing that you think is biggest challenge? So something called the biodiversity loss, right? We're losing species at an unprecedented way, right? So why the President of India, he has to applaud the effort of Kaziranga staff, because they were instrumental in saving, right, one on rhinoceros, right? So we are losing species at an unprecedented way. Okay. So what I am going to do is I'll talk about 4 societal challenges and how nature-based solution can solve this problem. Okay, or at least mitigate the impact of these challenges. So first is the climate change. Second is the food security, right? So we are growing at an unprecedented way, right? We are close to, I think we are already crossed 8 billion, right? And diseases, as you rightly said, we are in the middle of the pandemic, so it's not over yet, right? You can see a lot of masks, and masks become like almost second skin to us now, right? So hopefully it will not stick to us next year, or the pandemic will slow down slowly and go away quickly. And last is the biodiversity loss. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these 4 broad topics and how nature-based solution can solve this or mitigate the impact of these problems. So when I say nature-based solution, so remember, so it's not to completely change the technology part. Okay, so there are so many solutions in nature itself that if we can explore, we can solve this problem. Okay, and also, as Sir rightly said, that this could be sustainable. So it will be sustainable in a long run. Technology alone cannot be sustainable. It will be if you see, there are many technology, there are solutions, but which are very, very costly, right? We can say take carbon dioxide from environment, the additional carbon dioxide, but those technology are costly, okay? And these are not sustainable in a long run, right? So we will explore some of this in subsequent slides. So nature-based solution is actually, the definition was given by UN. So it is actually managing the ecosystem, right? So for example, one nature-based solution is people propose is planting trees, right? Which is the cheapest way to, people say, cheapest way to mitigate climate change, mitigate, say, biodiversity loss. Okay, and the goal of say nature-based solution is human well-being, okay, and biodiversity protection. So these are the 2 goals. And if you look at that image there, the yellow circle is where people and nature co-work together to bring changes which are in that arc of blue arc, and how that is going to lead us to the sustainable development. Okay, so can you go to the next slide? So for an example, if you look at this picture, so if you see that there is this original forest cover which is just lying next to the ocean, right? And because of tsunami and other things, so there is a flood, there is a loss of human life, and there is a loss of property also. And how we can best say restore this? So that is given in the 3rd slide. So there is a row of mangrove tree which can prevent the storm, right, or cyclone, and there is a light green patch where you can say plant trees and restore some of the ecosystem services. Okay, so this is one example of nature-based solution. So nature-based solution is a new term of a old idea. So we are doing it nature-based solution every time. I was sitting there and I overheard from backside that what are the things that we need to eat, right? Somebody was saying that meat is bad, so you need to eat fish, right? So this traditional knowledge, right? Because I'm also eating fish now because meat is banned for me. So it is the traditional knowledge that came, right? From the centuries of trial and error. So we have this nature-based solution, but we are so, say, enamored by the technology that we are forgetting it, right? We remember that in our villages we have pond everywhere, right? We have a small forest, small, say, woodlot, small, say, kitchen garden. That village, that house is self-sufficient. So if you go and do the nutrition analysis of those people, you will be surprised to see that these are better than, say, some fat diet like keto diet and other things. These are nothing. So we are actually following nature-based solution, but we are forgetting that, and we are going for, say, some. So we are not eating fish, and we are going for the protein supplements, right? So we are not, say, eating amla and other things, and we are going for limsi, right? During pandemic, we are like eating limsi like anything, like we need to build our immunity. But our immunity things are there in our backyard. So we are doing it for a long time. So these are nothing new. The term is new. So, okay. So there are these 7 principles what nature-based solution. I can't read it from here. So it's a deliver an effective solution to a major global challenge. I'll just go there and talk.
ये ट्रेवल डिस्प्ले तो आहा नहीं माइक तो काट देगा ट्रेवल डिस्प्ले आइबो এই ল্যাপটপৰ পৰা চলাই আছে যে গান নাই
But can I just sit and just
yes
okay, laptop
এইটো বেটাৰ নহলে এইটো ল্যাপটপৰ পৰা চলাই আছে
it's okay if I sit and
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Actually, we might have suggested you to see because of your health condition.
No, it's okay. And the second is the protect biodiversity benefit in terms of diverse, well-managed ecosystem. So I'll talk about it because we are doing many things very, very wrong. The very concept of plantation is completely faulty. And I'll talk about it. So why this is so faulty? And third is it's cost-effective relative to other solutions. So as I told you that we may come out with, say, Elon Musk type very huge technological solutions for these problems. But remember, these are not going to be sustainable, as sir rightly said, because we need sustainable. Because after 100 years also, nature-based solution will be there. So it's still cost-effective, it's still providing services. But this technology, in order to create this technology, you need, say, new elements, new minerals, right? So for example, somebody was telling me about the solar panel, right? So solar panel, we need battery, right? To store the electricity. So batteries, for the battery, you need lithium, right? I'm sure chemistry people will know about it. And there are aluminium and other things. So from where these minerals are coming? These minerals are again coming after scrapping the forest. So we know the bauxite mining, right? So these are again are there in the nature. So we are actually clearing forests to get this, and we are calling those as a renewable energy. So there are a lot of these debates right now, and it's easily and compellingly communicated, and can be measured, verified, and replicated. So nature-based solution we can replicate from one side to another if those works. Respect and reinforce communities' right over natural resources. This is extremely important because, as I told you, this indigenous knowledge is or the traditional knowledge is there everywhere. So what we are doing is that many people do that they will not acknowledge this traditional knowledge and they exploit it, right? Most of the pharmaceutical companies, they exploit this traditional knowledge and they get peanuts. The local communities who are protecting this traditional knowledge are getting peanuts, whereas these pharmaceutical companies, they get thousands of crores of rupees. So you'll be, I'm sure that most of you know Patanjali, right? So Patanjali is extracting natural resources from Uttarakhand without giving any benefit to the local people who are protecting this products, right, from the time immemorial. But there are this Biodiversity Protection Act, which actually tells us that if you are extracting, say, this traditional knowledge or say medicines from the wild, uh, you have to give certain benefit to the communities who are protected. Suppose I know a cure for some disease, right? So what is the use of that knowledge if I do not get benefit and somebody else is getting profit? So nature-based solution is also saying that the community's right is paramount. So we need to give those rights to communities and harness both public and private source of funding. So I think Pulak was saying about there is we need to popularize science. We need to take science to the common people. So how to do that? Everybody are doing science every day, right? When you are playing with your mobile, you are doing science. When you are driving a car, you are doing science. When you are cooking tea or rice, you are doing science. So science is there everywhere, but the name is different. We are not naming it as science, right? So, so this is also important that we need to connect the policymakers, we need to connect the public, and we need to connect the researchers so that it's become a joint collaboration rather than say scientists become inaccessible. So it's like there is an image of scientists being people who are wearing a white coat and in the lab and very inaccessible, like Einstein types hair and all those. No, I think we need to break this, say, the image of, say, scientists, right? Because scientists are just like us, just like you and me, right? So we need to break that, and this nature-based solution is giving an opportunity to interact with the policymakers so that we can bring some sustainable changes in our cities and in our life. So again, I want to reinforce that nature-based solution complement but do not replace other interventions. So these solutions work in synergy with other technologies, not replacement of say, other technologies. So some of you must have gone to Mizoram, and there is a concept called village safety reserve and the village supply reserve. This is there for a long time. So village safety reserve are places in village, particularly the inaccessible sites like the hilltops and others, where they protect this forest. They protect this forest so that the fire, the landslide, the water catchment. So you get water, you protect your village or your crops from fire throughout the year, right? And you cannot extract anything from this safety reserve. And second is called the village supply reserve, where you go, you extract NTFD, you go collect the plants, you go collect firewood, you go collect building construction material from them, where you go and collect bamboo. So this is a concept, very, very nice concept, right? So there is a safety forest where you will not do anything. It's like a saving. So we are not going to say there is a saving that we are doing it. So in some unforeseeable circumstances, those saving will help us, right? And there is a supply forest. It's the current account or saving account and current account. So where you keep using that money for day-to-day life. So beautiful concept. So we have this concept already. So this is also the nature-based solution. Sacred group, all of you know there are 125 sacred groups in Meghalaya. So these are extremely rich in biodiversity. I think this image is from the Moflong. I think some of you have visited there. If not, please visit. It's a beautiful place, and you cannot bring a leaf also from that forest. So it is completely preserved. So it's completely preserved. So what will happen? So you may ask, okay, if I completely preserve it, what's the benefit of that forest for me, right? The benefit will be in terms of say cooling effect. Benefit will be in terms of this forest being responsible for a running stream throughout the year, right? This forest will be there for say you get bored, you get say why doctor in many movies they said, okay, if you're suffering from say depression or suffering from some trauma, go to hill station. Why? because the hill station give you an aesthetic beauty. So I'll talk about this little later, how the nature is also healing, has a healing power for people. Okay? So these sectoid groups are extremely important. These are preserving the biodiversity of Meghalaya. So it's extremely rich in terms of biodiversity. So let's come to the how this. This is a small background about the nature-based solution that we already have, and how we can address this biggest societal challenges like the climate change. Let's start with the climate change. So global average temperature have increased by more than 1 degree Celsius since pre-industry. So the global average temperature is more than 1 degree Celsius. So it's reaching towards the 2 degrees Celsius. So you may ask, what's the problem? Like 2 degrees Celsius, parile ki problem hoga, right? I'll talk about that. What will happen if the 2 degrees Celsius increase? Carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere are now well over 400 parts per million. Their highest level in over 8 lakhs years. So 800 years ago, Jiman carbon dioxide asile almost 440. If you look at this figure, it's here and it's increasing exponentially. It's going up, the carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide are called the greenhouse gases, right? What they do is they trap the energy. So if they are heat to ahe, they trap it. They will not allow the heat to escape to the atmosphere, outer atmosphere. So as a result, the temperature increases. So what will happen? We need carbon dioxide, by the way. So carbon dioxide jodi na thakile is so thanda. So there will be completely cold, right? We need carbon dioxide, but not to that level. We need carbon dioxide to a minimum level where it can trap temperature, but rest it can release, right? We need that optimum or whatever, 28 or 29 degrees Celsius temperature we need. Otherwise, life will not be able to survive. So there are large inequalities in carbon dioxide emission. The world poorest contribute less than 1% of emission. So the poorest countries are not contributing carbon dioxide at all. The richest countries are contributing everywhere. So it's borne by each and every country, right? But there are many countries which are not contributing, but they have to suffer it. So there is an inequality. So in fact, there is a there is a data which says that there are 100 companies in the world. If you can ask them not to operate, the carbon dioxide level will go 50%. The 100, most of these companies or industries are in USA, China, and also in India, right? And what we are doing, the 70% electricity in India is coming from the coal-powered power station. So it's amazing, 70%. So we need coal, otherwise this light will not be there. So we are burning coal to produce electricity, right? So how to mitigate that impact? So we need a hydropower, right? The clean energy like the solar power again. But remember, solar power again you need batteries, again you need say minerals. So how to reconcile this say need and we need electricity. Otherwise, so our life will be completely dark, right? So we are so much dependent on electricity. So now there are certain nature-based solutions. This is the paper that was published in PNAS. So it says that if we restore, say, living organisms, so living systems, such as forest, such as mangroves, right? We will be able to reduce the carbon dioxide from the environment. So because the Amazon is called the sink of carbon dioxide, right? The sink of greenhouse gas, or it sequestered carbon dioxide from the. So what plant does? Plant take carbon dioxide and make chlorophyll, and the carbon dioxide is stored in the trunk, right? The Amazon. That's why Amazon, the importance of Amazon is so high, because we are very fortunate to have Amazon kind of forest, which actually regulates its own climate. So Our Offama here northeastern, which forest can regulate their own climate? I doubt none, because even though we see forest, these forests are extremely degraded, or the forest is only of one type. So you'll see either segun or sal, right? So only of one tree. So Arunachal, yes, Arunachal definitely, and also in so now Arunachal forests are also in danger because of this oil palm, the expansion of oil palm, right? So oil palm is a product যে আমার খোয়ার যোনটো আছে তেলত, so they mix oil palm with it, palm oil, and oil palm is there in everywhere, everything that you are eating. Maggi pabo oil palm, chocolates bilakot pabo oil palm. So why? Because the oil palm is odorless, tasteless. So you can mix it with anything. Biscuitor logot mix koribo pare, ya jikono logot mix koribo pare, and it increase the shelf life. You know shelf life. Chips bilakot oil palm thake. Apna cosmetics, each and every cosmetic oil palm ase. So the huge demand for oil palm in Thailand and Malaysia has decimated the tropical rainforest. So now India, the now government of India has allocated some 10,000 crores rupees to expand oil palm in Northeast India. And one of them is Ruchi Soya, owned by Patanjali, owned by Baba Ramdev. So what it doing is it is clearing the forest. It's clearing the forest. I have seen in Gwalpara the oil palm. Oil palm or tolat ekku nohoy. Oil palm gosor tolat ekku nohoy. And to oil palm it need 12 feet distance. So it will give you gas, but what to do with the gas? Just replace eta jungle to ami replace kori asu. We are replacing a forest which is giving so much a benefit. Kiba khabole hole jungle golu, khak pasil loi ailu, kiba ghor banabole jungle golu. Oil palm ki koribe? So you are going and you cannot even jontu bilake eko khabo nware. You will not even see a spider or say butterflies or birds inside this farm. So Gwalpara ami eta research kori asu. Nothing. Water table to tolat gol. One oil palm tree needs 170 liter water per day. So jibilak jaga water scarce area bilakot hoy tate ki korise eta borewell lagaise. So water table is going down. Manu bilake complain korise pani amar water table to tolat gise. So these are some of the emerging threats to this say country. And the greatest potential identified so far is so much land can be used this way is to protecting and restoring natural forests and allowing native trees to repopulate deforested land. So if you go to any forest, so I'm just emphasizing forest here, but it also applies to wetlands. Amar wetland bilak, Guwahati's wetland bilak. Kiman khini asil eta samoyt gunamote aru historically kunubai apunar Bigoli Pukhuri pora they can navigate through a water bodies and go to the port. So this was a history of Guwahati. So there were close to 40 wetlands in Guwahati. Right now, I think there are we can count in our hands how many are there. Sub wetlands. So we completely and then we cry about the artificial flood in Guwahati. So wetlands where actually the rainwater into ache storm ebilak water to mane eta borokhon bahut beshi hoy water to loise. So now the water holding capacity of Guwahati is not there because we completely destroy the wetlands, right? And whatever etiao jibilak til khakur it's relic to gese apunaloke jodi sai upor beaches bilak just small eta area ase, otherwise everything is gone. Before bill we are fighting to save before bill, but it's very difficult. So these are the nature-based solutions of our flood problem. So it was there. So what we are doing is now we are bringing this super sucker, kibatri, anikine. So the super sucker is a technology now. Super sucker e ki kore? Apunar drainer pra mati to ulai, right?
নেক্সট বছৰত আকৌ মাটিটো আহিব ক'ৰ পৰা আহে মাটিটো জংঘলটো শেষ হৈ আছে পাহাৰটো so it's a endless thing so we are completely people are encroaching this forest we are not planting suitable trees which are native আমি eucalyptus plant কৰি আছো আমি বেলেগ গছবিলাক plant কৰি আছো which are not going to hold the soil right so the greatest drawdown potential per hectare though the total area is small is the restoration of coastal habitats such as mangroves salt marsh and seagrass bed so this is the globally so আমি বহুত বেছি emphasis দিম যে forest because আমি নর্থ ইস্টত generally like forest আছে আমার salt marsh নাই আমার ocean নাই mangroves নাই but apparently coastal habitat store 40 times faster than tropical forest carbon dioxide store করতে পারে so the emphasis globally including India এতিয়া কি দি আছে যে coastal areas বিলাক কেনেকৈ আমি restore কৰিব পাৰোঁ so if you can restore coastal areas so it can have a much better say carbon dioxide absorption capacity than the tropical forest so this is a one way of restoring so এটা example দিতে দিছিল so we need to restore the mangroves so that if you remember the tsunami type যিবিলাক গৈছিলে এটা tsunami Andaman Nicobar we can prevent that kind of catastrophe so if you have a coastal area which is full of mangrove forest so the climate change it cities bilak generally cities or temperature urban ke beshi ase mane rural ke beshi ase so how to mitigate so we need housing so ami just bahirot thakibo noaru ya bota thakibo noaru mane hawa thakibo na we need construction right but is it possible to build buildings which can also support biodiversity for example this kind of buildings so is it possible কোনোবা যদি হোটেল লিলিত গৈছে আপোনালোকে দেখিব হোটেল লিলিত বাহিৰত কি ধুনীয়াকৈ এনেকৈ বনাই কিনে ইমানখিনি মাটি দিয়া আছে and they planted trees so entire hotel lily looks like this structure so not exactly like this not like this dates and what is happening that we are staying with nature right so আপোনাৰ ঘৰৰ ওচৰতে প্লান্ট আছে মই যেতিয়া কলেজটো সোমালো দেখিছো rows of plants আছে right rows of ফুল আছে but I also saw that there is a Argimona mexicana at the extreme end so that's an invasive species by the way আপোনালোকে এইটো খালি কিনে পেলাই দিব কিন্তু Argimona mexicana is an invasive species এইটো আমাৰ ইয়াৰ নহয় নামে মেক্সিকানা মেক্সিকোৰ পৰা আহিছে একদম কৰ্ণৰত আছে এইটো ওলাই দিব এইটো দেখাত ভাল হলে এইটো কিন্তু বিপদ আনিব এইটো পুৰা বাঢ়িব কিন্তু so we need to remove that one so this is not native so and if you look at GS road jodi ahe divider ase rasta ase then drain ase so just think about it jodi borokhon dile pani to kot jabo students jodi borokhon rasta diye pani to drain of jabo so is there any way by and that water is going to Brahmaputra evapotranspiration we can uporot beshi kore that water should go to down right tolat jabo lage jodi tolat jay tetia ground water to recharge hobo then the water table will go up right so what is happening that water we are losing those water so can we construct this kind of nature based solutions for example drain road or majot 1 foot or eta gap and it should be not concrete so we are fascinated by concrete I don't know why amar manor ghorot ajikali so ghor bila completely concrete kono jagai nai মোৰ বিল্ডিঙৰ নামটো হ'ল ৰিয়াংচি গ্ৰীনছ বাট একচুৱেলি তাৰ নামটো হ'ল ৰিয়াংচি ব্ৰাউন থাকিব লাগে একো গ্ৰীণ বস্তু নাই মানে গোটেইখিনি এইটো কৰি দিছে মানে বিল্ডাৰক কৈছোঁ যে আপুনি অকণমান জেগাটো এৰি দিয়ক য'ত মানে আমি কিবা গছ চছ লগাব পাৰোঁ পানীটো তলত যাব নাই নুশুনে নহয় এইটো মানে মাটি থাকিলে বোকা হয় আৰে বোকা থাকিলে ভাল দেট ইজ বেটাৰ বাট so we are staying very close to nature so hopefully কেতিয়াবা এই নামটো চেঞ্জ কৰি দিম and if you look at this so rather than making the entire concrete So why not we make something like this? Apnalokar into block to this block is still better, but sometimes it's completely concrete. So there is impervious ground to impervious. Pani to tola jaboi noare. Then we are crying like we do not have water. So these are some of the solutions, very, very cost-effective solution. In fact, you will have some greenery also. So if we can make this kind of adjustment to city, think about it. I think water crisis to some extent, Amar Saketi Pura. So we need to work with government. We need to tell them, okay, these are some of the solutions that we can do, right? What do you think about those divider of lagaise na, Bougainvillea? So Bougainvillea dekhat bhal, but most of the time Bougainvillea is also not native. So do we not have native trees, native koro gos bila jinto ami lagabo paru etu dekha dunia hoy. So we should not bring like a bairat ki korise gutte khini bostu anibo nalage. So we need to bring the ideas, but we need to use the raw material of this place so that it's like think globally, act locally type, right? So these are completely green structures. So green structure, I mean completely koribon water because we need construction, we need housing, we need building, right? But we cannot have all the grey structure, right? Guwahati GS Road, if you come from Guwahati, Khanapara to Paltan Bazar, you can count how many trees are there on the both sides, street trees. So this is not a very sustainable city, I'm telling you. It's very, very badly planned. So we need to have a rows of trees. মানে বহুত ডাঙৰ নালাগে সৰু সৰু যেনেকৈ আমাৰ কিছুমান সৰু সৰু গছবিলাক থাকে জোপোহা গছবিলাক we can have this all around the road. And so what this paper suggests is that we need to have a hybrid of green and the grey structure. So if you can have this, so let the concrete building also stay there. Let the glass building also. There is an obnoxious building ISA which is completely glass. So a central mall or so it's completely glass. So what is the problem with that? Is that you need air condition all the time. So air condition imane energy to imane lagibo. So it become like a it's a centralized AC. So what's the need of that building? Like, and we are talking about say green building, but that is not a green building at all. It needs air condition, and air condition need what power, and it will say power will basic. So we need to change this concept of this kind of building, and there are places where people are doing. So they are converting this. They are not bringing this kind of buildings. So they are building khirki ase kulibo and or building like this. This is the residential building, but you can convert it into a green building. The second biggest societal challenge is the food security. So I'll just talk about this great famine. I think most of you are familiar with this famine to Ireland of 1845 to 1849. Okay? This famine was because of potato currency. And there were 10 lakh manu morichilo. 1 million people have died. And most of these people from Ireland migrated to USA, New Zealand, Australia. Players so most of these players have a descendant from that Ireland because of this famine. And because it happened because of the potato. Because potato into amar yard no hoy, alu into amar Okomar no hoy, India no hoy. Alu I say Indies or product. So alu to case a bemar lagi de. So that is caused by a fungus. And Ireland or Manubilake, each potato to introduce it was for the horse to feed. Horse or Manubilake Habulu Arambo Kodise. Then suddenly they were so much dependent on potato that it became a staple food. So everybody were dependent on potato. When this fungus attacked potato, the potato crop were failed. So potato crop যেতিয়া fail হল মানুহবিলাকে খাব নাপাই কিনে almost 1 লাখ মানুহবিলাক মৰিলে 10 million people, almost 1 crore people migrate to this. So one potato can cause the famine of an epidemic proportion. So this image is from Andes. Andes kota se? South America. So Andes so potato to pratham originate hoise. Jene ki amar Garo Hills to citrus or food bilak Garo Hills of pratham originate hoise. So that's why Garo Hills is so important. So our wild progenitor amar citrus or nemu semur Garo Hills par amar hua. So this potato is from Andes. So Andes there are 4,000 varieties of potatoes. So eta jodi alu jodi bemar hoy belek alu has an immunity against that. It cannot so jateo etu bemar to UP se, but it didn't cause any problem. So the message about from this is that we need diversity in food crops, and we need food securities. So there are huge challenges. 11% of the world population is undernourished. They have a caloric intake below minimum energy requirement. This is the fact. I mean, if I become very agitated. So at least we need to think about this figure from next time. 820 million people globally are undernourished. These are the figures. 22% of children younger than 5 are stunted, so they are not able to grow because nutrition poor. So 22% children. If you look mostly in the African countries, most sub-Saharan countries, so 9% of world population, around 697 million people are severely food age. Kali ki kham etu insecurity to us food alternative. And 1 in 4 people globally, 1.9 billion, are moderately or severely food insecure. And remember, we are growing at an exponential rate. So how to feed this growing population, right? So as I told you, nature-based solution alone cannot work. So we need to work in conjunction with, say, technology, mostly the biotechnology, rapidly production to ami keneke koribo paru. So this is the way. And so 1 degree or 2 degree barile ki problem hoy food or look at this figure. So if there is a 2 degree Celsius warming globally, USA food production to 17.8 degree formula. And if there is a 4 degree Celsius, which is expected by the end of 2100 by the end of this millennium. So 4 degree Celsius jodi hoy, there is a 46% production. And similarly, China kamibo, Brazil kamibo, Argentina kamibo. And it is not the yield that will come down. The nutrition value of the food will also come down because of the climate change. So some of the nature-based solutions are that we need to diversify our food. 50% of the energy in human diet is supplied by just 4 species. I mean, all 4 species, which are rice, maize, wheat, and potato. So we need to diversify this. So I'm sure that we have like hundreds of different food which are not being explored properly, right? Jeneke ragi. এতিয়া যে কুইনো কিবা বুলি কিনে আহে ফ্লেক্সি সিড বিলাক আহে এইবিলাক কি নতুন নেকি নহয় এইবিলাক আগৰ পৰা মানুহে খাই আছে but now we are realizing that this is a huge protein etu omega 3 bahut beshi ase eibilak now we are saying and now what multinational companies are doing it they are just sending it in a branded way and these are keto diet or these are fat diet eibilak khali নহয় eibilak already ase amar teko so we have to actually diversify our food habit in order to meet this food challenge. And if we can do this, there are potential of, say, feeding the another, say, 10 billion amar population, we can still feed this people. And we need to preserve genetic diversity. So you'll be surprised to know that India had, so how many species of rice we have in India? Students, species of rice. Saul, kiman bitor ase? Huh? Okay, now it's open.
অকল অসমতে more than 400 species আছে।
No. Species অকল এটা Oryza sativa. Variety, আপুনি যেটো ক'লে variety. So India আপুনি ঠিকে ক'লে ইণ্ডিয়াত এটা সময়ত 1 লাখ ভেৰাইটি আছিল 1 লাখ ভেৰাইটি তাৰমানে ইচ এণ্ড এভৰি কৰ্নাৰত এটা নতুন ভেৰাইটিটো মানুহবিলাকে বনাইছিল so কোনোবা জাগাত একেবাৰে নিমখীয়া পানী আছে মানে মাটি আছে তাৰ কাৰণে কি ধৰণৰ ভেৰাইটি লাগে কোনোবা জাগাত যেনেকৈ বহুতখিনি ধান আছে যিটো মানে সব পানী থকা জাগাবিলাকত নহয় কিছুমান পানী নাথাকিলেও হয় কিছুমান পাহাৰত হয় কিছুমান বেলেগ বেলেগ কণ্ডিশ্যনবিলাক আছে তেনেকৈ 1 লাখ ভেৰাইটিজ আছে so we have lost those varieties আন্দামানত আমি গৈছিলোঁ so তাতে এজন মানুহে 4টা ভেৰাইটি অকল তেওঁৰ এইটোতে আছে তেওঁ প্ৰত্যেক বছৰ কৰি থাকে খেতি যাতে মানে এইটো থাকে অকল এজন মানুহে 4টা ভেৰাইটিটো মানে প্ৰিজাৰ্ভ কৰি ৰাখিছে so why we need these varieties because remember the famine condition so endangered টাইপৰ যদি ভেৰাইটি বেছি থাকে আমাৰ so we can defend this যদি কিবা এটা বেমাৰো আহে so we can defend it so why কৰোনাৰ সময়ত আমাক সবকে সিভিয়াৰলি ইম্পেক্টেড নহলো আমি কিছুমান একদম ডেকা ল'ৰাবিলাকে যেবিলাকে একদম হেলদি we lost them but there are people who are looks very like মানে মদ চদ খাই একদম মানে মানে দেখিলে লাগিব যে মৰি যাব এই একো হোৱা নাই সিহঁতৰ so this is also about because আমাৰ genetic makeup each and every one different আছে যদি সবৰে আমি আমাৰ একেটা genetic makeup থাকিলেহেঁতেন সব আমি বলুহেঁতেন so because we have this diversity in genetic makeup so we were able to resist this say pandemic or impact so similarly আমাৰ rice যদি এটাই যদি আলুৱে আমি খাই থাকো আলুৰ এটা বেমাৰ আহিলে গ'ল সব আলু গ'ল ৰাইচৰ এটা ভেৰাইটি যদি লগাও আমি ৰঞ্জিত কিবা কিবি লগাই লওঁ অকল এটাই ভেৰাইটি তাৰ কাৰণে এটা বেমাৰ যদি আহে সব গ'ল so we need to preserve the genetic diversity because তাৰ পৰা বায়োটেকনলজি তেতিয়া হেল্প কৰিব যেতিয়া আপোনাৰ তাতে ৰ মেটেৰিয়েল থাকিব ৰাইট টেকনলজি তেতিয়া হেল্প কৰিব যদি সাইন্টিষ্টক এটা কয় এটা নতুন চাউলটো বনাই লোৱাটো নোৱাৰিব আইনষ্টাইনে নোৱাৰিব because this is production of nature right so we need to preserve those genetic variety and the third is so I'm not going to talk about how to say address the different diseases so I'm particularly talking about the mental disorder so, and this is a apnaloke manok ya namanok this is going to be another pandemic mental disorder so mental disorder is not like a say occult depression one these are the different kind of mental disorder anxiety disorder depression alcohol use disorder drug use disorder bipolar disorder schizophrenia eating disorder I mean what was a disorder now look at this data so almost 3.76% people are say anxiety disorder so in fact I also have anxiety disorder so before every talk or before every major thing common anxiety I have so protect bar hoy so how to like say take care of this one and this is increasing because apnaloke policy sake during pandemic time before pandemic and after pandemic corona after bole bhal lage etiao khek hua nai okay let's say just Omicron is last one after pandemic so we have seen the increase in mental disorder so how to take care of this so there is something called the bird therapy I think Pooja will be in a better position to say because so this person was about to end his life this then he started doing birding he বাহিৰত গৈ কিনে জংগলত গৈ কিনে বাৰ্ড সেট চাবলৈ আৰম্ভ কৰিছে and he has completely recovered from those thoughts and he said I have no doubt that one day in the near future doctor will prescribe bird watching to people struggling with mild to moderate mental health problems so it's not only bird if you go out and watch a tree if you go out and watch an insect if you go out and watch a ant that is also very very soothing and in fact there is something called forest bathing জাপানত এটা প্ৰেক্টিছ আছে ফৰেষ্ট বাথিং বুলি কয় চ' তাতে মানে ফৰেষ্টৰ তাতে লৈ যায় মানুহবিলাক চ' যোৱাৰ পিছত আৰু অহাৰ পিছত দে কম্পেয়াৰ্ড দিছ পিপল এণ্ড ৰেগুলাৰলি যিবিলাকে যায় দে ফাউণ্ড দেট দে হেভ আ মাছ লোৱাৰ এংজাইটি প্ৰব্লেমছ চ' দিছ নেচাৰ বেছড solutions are going to help. Otherwise, just think about it, the amount of antidepressant that people have to eat, right? So there is a solution. I'm not saying that there is a, and remember this is the mild to moderate. For the extreme cases where you need clinical intervention, you need to go to doctor and you need to go on medication. So this may not help you. But mild, so it's very important to go in. So I just wanted to narrate this story of a student. এজনী ছোৱালী এটা মিটিঙত গ'লে আৰু মই এক্সেক্টলি এইটো বস্তুটো ইয়াতে ৰিপিট কৰি আছোঁ তাই ক'লে আৰু এণ্ড ইউ কেন ষ্টুডেণ্টছ কেন ৰিলেট দিছ অ'কে এ টিপিকেল ফেজ অফ এংজাইটি এণ্ড ডিপ্ৰেশ্যন কামছ টু মষ্ট অফ ইণ্ডিয়ান ষ্টুডেণ্টছ লাইফ এক্সেক্টলি আফটাৰ ক্লাছ 12 হয় চবৰে আহিছিলে মোৰো আহিছিলে ৱেডাৰ মেডিকেল আৰু ইঞ্জিনিয়াৰিং বাহিৰে মানে কোনো ছাবজেক্ট নাই মানে পঢ়াব অ'কে এই দুটাৰে জীৱনটো তাতে আছে If you are interested in none, you are in a serious trouble, as I am. Same, sabore hoise, muro hoise. Obviously, as I was not interested, I could not clear any of them and had to drop a year after 12, class 12. Due to the pressure from everybody, I got so depressed that I secluded myself from everyone except my family, and that's the period when I started bird watching. I started bird watching just to spend some time with nature and to keep myself engaged with something, and slowly without my knowledge it became a hobby for me. The way birding helped me to take care of my mental health is unexplainable. When you spot a bird and able to identify it, the joy you feel is priceless. I spent the whole year by keeping birding as my only friend and finally overcome that phase of loneliness and depression to go ahead in life with a new hobby. And this girl is S.B.Deorah, MSc, Wildlife Institute of India. So she went to one of the premier institute of India, which is called the Wildlife Institute of India. And both asile tai Pragjyotisar student. So right now she is in Africa doing amazing work on meerkats. Africa tase. So pandemic or common. So my child is just 3 years, and যেতিয়া বাহিৰত পেণ্ডেমিকৰ সময়টো লৈ যাব পৰা নাই বাহিৰত লৈ যাব কোনো পাৰ্ক খোলা নাই বাহিৰত যেতিয়া গৈ তাই যোনটো এনথুজিয়াজম মই দেখোঁ ঘৰত আহিলে একদম আইদাৰ ফোন লাগিব নহ'লে বেলেগ কিবা লাগিব চ' আই কেন চি দেট দেৰ ইজ আ প্ৰব্লেম অফ অলৱেজ বিং ইনডোৰ চিলড্ৰেনবিলাকৰ পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ চ' উই নিড টু টেক দেম আউট অফ দ্য ৰুম এণ্ড টেক দেম টু দ্য বাই চ' হোপফুলি that will help them cope up with this kind of disorder. And there are a lot of studies, so it might just these are not the perception, but people have studied and they found that horror usoro jodi street trees thake, that horror usoro greenery thake, that is helping people. Even the cardiovascular diseases like the heart problems or respiratory problems, people are who stay in a city or area locality in a city in a locality where there are a lot of greenery have much lower BP, blood pressure to both complex than manageable blood pressure. So these are many such studies that were done in Europe, and which actually concludingly saying that we need to connect with nature. So and these are nature-based solutions. So if মই একচুৱেলি এটা প্ৰজেক্ট ভাবিছিলোঁ যোনটো কৰিব পৰা নাই চ' ইফ ইন গুৱাহাটী ইফ ইউ লুক এট দ্য এৰিয়া ৱেৰ দেৰ আৰ লট অফ গ্ৰীনেৰী এণ্ড দ্য পিপল এণ্ড গো এণ্ড টেক দেয়াৰ BP or say just take their medical history, right? And the people where there are no trees like Fancy Bazaar or say Pan Bazaar, would I see some sort of differences in them? So যদি কোনোবা যদি তোমালোকে বিচাৰা এইটো কৰিব পাৰা ইন ফিউচাৰ ভেৰি চিম্পল হ'ব বাট অকণমান কি হৈছে হিউমেন যেতিয়া হয় মানে ছাবজেক্ট যেতিয়া হয় এথিক কমিটিৰ পৰা ক্লিয়াৰেঞ্চ ল'ব লাগে যদি আমি ব্লাড ল'ব লাগে চ' দেৰ আৰ লট অফ দিছ এথিকেল ইছ্যুজ ইনভলভ চ' ইফ ইউ কেন ডু দেট ইউ মাইট ফাইণ্ড চাম ভেৰি ইণ্টাৰেষ্টিং ৰিজাল্টছ এণ্ড দিজ আৰ দ্য ৰিজাল্টছ দেট একচুৱেলি মানে আমি ইণ্টাৰনেশ্যনেল জাৰ্নেলবিলাকত পাব্লিছ কৰিব পাৰোঁ ৰাইট এণ্ড